Welcome to our channel. Before we get started, please consider liking and subscribing so we can bring more stories like this to you.
A quiet retirement. From his vantage point high on the hill, the town looked like a postcard. Willow Creek. Population. Harmless. Jason sipped his lukewarm coffee, the bitter taste of familiar comfort. Below, the morning unfolded like a play in slow motion, Mrs. Henderson watering her prize-winning petunias. Old man Fitzwilliam shuffling to the bakery for his daily donut. A golden retriever chasing squirrels in the park. A perfect tableau of peaceful monotony. He'd chosen this place for a reason, hoping the quiet would finally drown out the echoes. Down in the heart of Willow Creek, Izzy Diaz hummed along to the radio as she wrestled a stubborn sequin onto a fairy costume. The school auditorium buzzed with controlled chaos. Tomorrow was opening night of A Midsummer Night's Dream, and she, as director, was determined to pull it off flawlessly. She envisioned the kids on stage, bathed in the warm glow of the spotlights, their voices soaring. Everything had to be perfect. The kids deserved that. Diaz, you gonna glue yourself to that thing? Or are we practicing in trances? Mr. Abernathy, the music teacher, called from the stage. Izzy grinned. Coming, Abernathy, just adding a little sparkle. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, a different kind of drama was unfolding on the outskirts of town. 3 black SUVs. Their windows tinted like secrets, rolled into Willow Creek, the lead car driven by a man known only as Viper. His gaze swept over the quaint streets, his lip curling in distaste. Charming. He muttered to his passenger, his voice a gravelly rasp. Too charming. Makes me want to burn it to the ground. The passenger, a nervous-looking man in an ill-fitting suit, swallowed hard. Everything is in place, sir. Just like you ordered. Viper's eyes narrowed. Let's hope so. This little detour better be worth my time. The serpent's lair. The warehouse reeked of damp concrete and forgotten promises. Moonlight, fractured by grime-coated windows, painted zebra stripes across the floor. Viper ran a gloved hand along the cold steel of a crate. The rasp of metal a low growl in the cavernous space. Rust dusted his fingertips. Check the Kalashnikovs. He commanded, his voice a low rasp that echoed unnaturally. 2 hulking figures, shadows given form, moved to obey. He paced. The rhythmic tap of his expensive leather boots the only other sound. This deal had to go off without a hitch. Too many eyes were on him. Too many loose ends threatened to unravel his carefully constructed empire. He stopped before a crude map of the school grounds tacked to a support beam. The elementary school. A necessary evil. Silencers attached, boss. One of the henchmen grunted, hefting a rifle. Viper nodded, his gaze never leaving the map. After the exchange, the signal. Eliminate anyone who can connect us. Clean and efficient. No witnesses. He circled a point on the map near the playground with a red marker. Especially him. A ghost of a smile touched his lips, cold and devoid of warmth. Collateral damage is acceptable. Loose ends are not. The air hung thick with unspoken threats, the scent of ozone and impending violence. Innocence lost. Part of your world. Izzy. Hit it. Mrs. Davison clapped, her smile wide. Isabel Diaz, as Ariel stood center stage, her red hair practically glowing under the dim auditorium lights. What would I give if I could live out of these waters? She belted, her voice clear and surprisingly strong. She moved with a natural grace, miming swimming motions. The other children, cast as sea creatures and sailors, giggled and swayed, their earlier anxieties about remembering their lines forgotten. Bravo, Izzy. Magnificent, Mrs. Davison cried, clapping her hands. A chorus of laughter erupted as little Timmy tripped over his pretend fishing net, sending a papier-mâché crab skittering across the stage. Izzy, still in character, gasped dramatically and pointed. Sebastian, watch out! The air buzzed with the simple joy of creation, of make-believe. But the innocent world within the school auditorium was fragile. A low rumble vibrated through the floor, growing steadily louder. A massive truck, its engine roaring like a caged beast, barreled past the school. The windows rattled, momentarily disrupting Izzy's final, soaring note. The children paused, their laughter dying down. Mrs. Davison frowned, a flicker of unease crossing her face. The sound faded, leaving an unsettling silence. In its wake, Izzy, ever the optimist, clapped her hands. Okay. From the top, everyone. Let's make this the best performance ever. Whispers of trouble. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the loading bay as Jason approached the warehouse. Something felt off. A prickling sensation crawled across the back of his neck, a familiar warning he'd learned to heed over years of experience. Usually, only a couple of beat-up delivery vans were parked haphazardly around the entrance. Today, 2 black SUVs, windows tinted dark as night, idled near the loading docks, and men in tactical gear, faces obscured by masks, moved with unnerving precision, unloading crates. Jason melted into the shadows of a nearby alley, his senses on high alert. He pulled out his compact binoculars, focusing on the license plates of the SUVs. A quick text to a contact would reveal their owners soon enough. He watched as the crates, stenciled with innocuous markings, were swiftly carried inside. The way the men handled them, the weight they bore. Those weren't holding auto parts, that was for sure. A knot tightened in Jason's stomach. This wasn't some petty smuggling operation. This was something bigger, something darker. He remembered the elementary school, barely a mile from here. The thought sent a jolt of ice through his veins. He had to find out what was inside those crates. And fast. The air crackled, with unspoken threats, and Jason knew, with grim certainty, that innocent lives hung in the balance. Confirmed threat. The glint of moonlight on steel confirmed it. Jason, perched precariously on the corrugated iron roof of the abandoned warehouse, watched the exchange. Crates stamped with Cyrillic script were being unloaded from a battered truck. Their contents passed to men who looked less like buyers and more like wolves circling prey. At AK-47's RPGs. Enough firepower to level a small town. His stomach twisted. He zoomed in with his binoculars, his breath catching in his throat. The angle, the warehouse was practically spitting distance from Northwood Elementary. If those weapons were used, the school wouldn't stand a chance. Little Timmy Henderson, who always wore the dinosaur t-shirt. Sarah Miller, who dreamed of being an astronaut. Images flashed through his mind, fueling a cold rage. He fumbled for his phone. Adrenaline coursing through him. 911. He rattled off the location, the situation, the imminent danger to the school. The dispatcher, a bored-sounding woman, cut him off mid-sentence. Sir, we've had multiple calls about suspicious activity at that location. It's a known training ground for paintball enthusiasts. We appreciate your concern, but we can't dispatch officers for a game. Paintball? Lady, they're unloading weapons of war. There are children at risk. A sigh crackled through the line. Sir, if you continue to make false reports. He slammed the phone down, a knot forming in his gut. He was on his own. They thought it was a game. He knew it was anything, but he had to stop them. Deal gone sour. The scent of diesel and brine hung heavy in the air as the first truck backed into the warehouse. Viper watched, a sliver of moon glinting off the chrome handle of the pistol tucked into his waistband. He didn't trust the silence. It was too clean, too perfect. Sergei, usually a jittery mess, moved with a practiced calm that set Viper's teeth on edge. Something was off. Then the lights went out. Chaos erupted. Gunfire spat from the shadows near the loading bay. The staccato bursts echoing off the corrugated iron walls. Sergei screamed. A high-pitched wail cut short by a wet thud. Viper dove behind a stack of crates, the acrid smell of gunpowder filling his nostrils. Ambush! He roared, though the message was lost in the din. A grenade exploded nearby, showering him with splinters and the metallic tang of blood. He scrambled to his feet, his ears ringing, and returned fire, aiming for the muzzle flashes. Stray bullets whined off the concrete floor, kicking up dust. One slammed into the warehouse wall, sending a shower of plaster raining down. He could hear shouts of panic, men scrambling for cover. This wasn't just a robbery. They wanted it all gone, and they didn't care who got caught in the crossfire. Viper spat on the floor, a cold fury settling in his gut that he would make them regret this. Into the fire. The warehouse reeked of stale diesel and desperation. Jason, a shadow amongst shadows, moved with a practiced grace that belied the lethal intent behind each step. The chatter of the thugs was a discordant symphony to his ears, punctuated by the metallic clicks of weapons being readied. He'd counted 7 so far, spread haphazardly around crates overflowing with enough firepower to level a city block. Time to rearrange the orchestra. He started with the lookout posted near the loading bay. A silent take down, a muffled grunt, and another player removed from the stage. Then, using the crates as cover, he moved like a phantom, disabling them one by one. A disarm here, a precisely aimed pressure point strike there. The cacophony of gunfire erupted as soon as one of them noticed the dwindling numbers. Perfect. Now it was a fair fight. Jason emerged from the shadows, a whirlwind of motion, his movements a blur of controlled violence. Each strike was calculated, each block precise. Meanwhile, inside the school auditorium, Izzy clapped her hands, a bright smile on her face. Again, kids, from the top, and remember energy. We need to project to the back row. The children, dressed in makeshift pirate costumes, launched into another rendition of Yo-Ho, Yo-Ho, a pirate's life for me. Their voices a joyful counterpoint to the chaos brewing just beyond the school walls, a world away from their innocent play, sacrifice. The goon's skull met the locker with a resounding crash that bounced off the corridor's silent walls. Another attacker swung a corroded pipe. Aiming for Jason's head, he evaded the blow, the metal singing past his ear, and countered with a precise elbow strike to the man's chest, crumpling him. Viper's thugs fought with a desperation that spoke of terror. Not just greed, terror of their boss. Outside, automatic weapons chattered, a staccato rhythm of destruction underscoring the pandemonium. Engulfing the school, he had to reach the children. A flash of reflected light snagged his attention. A grenade tumbled lazily through the air, landing with a muffled clunk near the gymnasium entrance, the refuge he'd ordered the teachers to fortify. The moment stretched, each fraction of a second distinct, the olive-drab orb, the spitting fuse, the looming devastation all coalesced in his awareness. His life held no consequence. He surged forward, a jolt of pure adrenaline igniting his muscles, each fiber burning with exertion. A full-out dive carried him across the remaining distance, his body slamming onto the grenade a breath before the explosion. The universe dissolved in searing agony, a blinding flash swallowing him whole. A thunderous blast obliterated all sound. He registered the searing agony as it tore through him, rending tissue and shattering bone before oblivion claimed him. The doorway was shielded. They were safe, silent guardian. Jason staggered, his vision swimming. Viper, a predator sensing weakness, stalked closer. Impressive, Statham. Viper hissed, his voice a rasp. But all things must end. He raised his weapon, a sleek, black pistol. Not today, Jason growled, the words laced with pain. But his eyes held an unyielding resolve. He lunged, a desperate gamble. Viper, overconfident, underestimated Jason's remaining strength. The gun fired, the bullet whizzing past Jason's ear as he slammed into Viper, knocking him off balance. They crashed to the ground, a tangle of limbs and fury. Izzy, having circled around, seized her moment. With a swift kick, she sent Viper's pistol skittering across the pavement. Viper roared, scrambling for the weapon, but Jason pinned him, his weight pressing the air from Viper's lungs. "It's over," Jason said, his voice tight with exertion. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder with each passing second. Police cruisers screeched to a halt, officers pouring out, weapons drawn. They quickly secured Viper, cuffing him and dragging him away. As the scene calmed, Jason leaned against a nearby wall, watching the children return to the schoolyard. They resumed their rehearsal for the play, their voices, once tinged with fear, now filled with laughter. Jason watched them, a silent guardian, ensuring their safety. The setting sun cast long shadows, painting the scene in hues of orange and gold, a vibrant contrast to the darkness that had threatened to engulf them.